Hello, friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. You ever get that feeling late at night when you're out on the open road and the silence gets so thick it feels like it's pressing in on you? Like the dark ain't just empty, it's watching? I've been hauling freight across this country for more than 20 years, and I used to think the worst thing out there was a busted axle in the middle of nowhere or some drunk driver swerving into your lane. But that was before I found out the truth, that these highways hold things a lot worse than bad weather or worn-out tires. There's something alive out there in the dark, and once you see it, once it sees you, there ain't no going back. It all started on a run through the Southwest. I'd picked up a load from El Paso, Texas, headed to Bakersfield, California. Normally, I'd stick to the major routes, but this time I took a shortcut a buddy swore by. Said it shaved off 2 hours, barely any traffic, smooth pavement. It was called Route 187, ran parallel to the interstate but dipped through some desert backcountry. No towns, no lights, just flat road and cacti. I hit it just before sunset. The sky was painted orange and purple, horizon glowing like a campfire fading. Out. I remember feeling good, sipping my lukewarm coffee and bobbing my head to some old rock station barely coming through the static. But then, just after the sun disappeared completely, my radio cut to dead silence. I mean nothing. No static. No signal, just that eerie hum of an empty frequency. Then my headlights flickered just for a second. Thought maybe I hit a bump or something. But the road was smooth as glass. That's when I saw her. A woman, standing right in the middle of the highway. Long black hair hanging in front of her face. White dress, stained dark around the hem. I slammed the brakes so hard my rig screeched, and skidded across the pavement. The trailer fishtailed, the cargo straps groaning in the back. By the time I came to a stop, I was sure I'd hit her. I jumped out of the cab, heart thundering in my ears, but there was no one there. Not on the road, not in the brush, nowhere. I walked the stretch of asphalt with a flashlight, calling out, scanning every inch. Nothing. No blood, no footprints, just empty desert and a sky full of stars. I should have turned around right then. Should have taken the hit to my delivery time and got back on the main interstate. But I didn't. I told myself I was tired, seeing things. I got back in the truck, fired her up, and kept going. That's when the real weird stuff started. About 10 minutes down the road, I caught movement in my side mirror. Just a flicker, like someone running behind the trailer. I hit the brakes again, leaned out the window, checked the shoulder. Still nothing. But I swear on my life, I heard breathing. Not mine, not from inside the cab. It was deep and raspy, like someone had been running hard and was trying to catch their breath, only it was coming from under the truck. I pulled over, grabbed my flashlight again, and got out, shining it underneath the rig. And there she was, the same woman from the road crouched underneath, her pale face just inches from the asphalt, staring up at me with hollow black eyes. I stumbled backward so fast I dropped the light. It rolled under the trailer and I didn't even think about grabbing it. I scrambled back into the cab and locked the doors. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the keys trying to start the engine again. When the engine finally turned over, I peeled out of there as fast as a loaded semi would allow, tires spinning dust into the air. I didn't look in the mirrors. I didn't slow down. I just drove until my fuel gauge hit empty, and I pulled into a lonely little truck stop out in the Mojave. I sat in that lot for hours, engine off, doors locked, staring at my windshield like she might crawl out of the dark at any second. I eventually passed out from exhaustion, right there in the driver's seat. When I woke up, the sun was up and the lot was full of life. Drivers fueling up, grabbing coffee, stretching their legs. I almost convinced myself I imagined the whole thing, almost, until I went to check the trailer. On the back doors, scratched into the metal, were 5 long, deep claw marks. And a single word, watching. I didn't report it. Who would believe me? Instead, I kept it to myself, but I never took that shortcut again. Thought maybe that would be the end of it. But the thing is, once you see her, she doesn't forget you. I started noticing weird things on other routes, glimpses of that same figure standing just off the shoulder, facing away from the road. My CB radio would cut to static late at night, and I'd hear faint whispers, like a voice trying to get through, but always just too quiet to understand. Other truckers started noticing my behavior too. They'd say things like, "You all right? Man, you look like you ain't slept in days." And they were right. I hadn't. Not really. Because every time I closed my eyes, she was there. Standing at the foot of my bunk, hair dripping wet, whispering things I couldn't quite hear, but somehow still understood. Things like, "You're mine now." I tried taking a break from the road, parked the rig and stayed home for a while. But even at home, things didn't stop. Lights flickered. I'd hear tapping on the windows. My dog, normally the friendliest pup in the world, would growl at empty corners. One night, I woke up to find muddy footprints leading from the front door to the foot of my bed. I live alone. At least I used to. It all came to a head on a winter run through Oregon. I was driving through thick fog on a remote mountain pass. No traffic, no towns for miles. Just me, the truck, and the road ahead. I was tense, every nerve. On edge. That's when I saw it again. Her, standing in the middle of the road. Only this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her were others, dozens of them. Men, women, children, all pale, all staring, all dead-eyed. I slammed the brakes, heart in my throat. They didn't move, didn't blink, just stared as the truck skidded to a stop a few feet from them. And then, they vanished, just gone, like mist evaporating in sunlight. But in their place, on the windshield, were handprints. Dozens of them, from the inside. That was the last straw. I left that truck right there, engine running, lights on. I walked 5 miles to the nearest ranger station. Told them I got lost hiking, left the truck behind. I never went back for it. Switched jobs, switched states. Figured maybe a new life would keep the ghosts away, but they find me still. Even now. Sometimes I'll be driving my pickup down a back road and catch a glimpse of someone in the rear view. Mirror that shouldn't be there. Sometimes I wake up and the claw marks are back, carved into my bedroom door. So if you're ever out there, late at night, hauling freight, or just taking a scenic route, and your radio cuts out and your lights flicker and you see someone standing in the road, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Because once she finds a way in, you'll never truly be free again. She don't just haunt highways, see? That's the part they never tell you. Because most folks who figure it out don't make it far enough to warn anyone. The road is just where she starts. I found that out the hard way, after I gave up trucking, tried settling down in Montana. Quiet town, no interstates for miles. Thought maybe I could outrun it all. Got myself a little cabin out by the edge of a forest. Spent my days chopping wood, trying to live simple. Nights were harder, though. That silence I used to crave, now it felt like a weight pressing down on me. A constant, suffocating presence just beyond the tree line. The first sign she'd followed me was the smell. Wet earth. Moldy, stagnant water. Same smell I remembered when she'd been crouched under my truck. It started showing up inside the house. I'd clean every inch, check the plumbing, the crawl space, nothing. But it never left. And the dreams. Man, those dreams. I'd find myself back on Route 187 behind the wheel, only this time the road never ended. Just a black strip through an endless, starless void. She'd be there, standing in the distance, always getting closer, but no matter how fast I drove, I could never reach her or get away from her. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, my fingernails bloody from clawing the mattress. One night, I woke up to find the dream wasn't a dream anymore. I was standing outside, barefoot, in the snow, 100 yards from the cabin. No memory of getting up or walking there, just the sound of whispering from the woods behind me. Dozens of voices. Not angry, not loud, just insistent. Like they needed me to understand something. I moved back inside, bolted every door, lit the fireplace, and sat there with a shotgun in my lap till morning. That became my routine. Sleep in short bursts, lights on, gun nearby. And still, she kept getting closer. You'd think a man would run out of places to go, but it don't matter. You can move to the ends of the earth and she'll be waiting for you there. Eventually, I decided to track down others. Had to know if I was the only one. Started talking to long-haul drivers, especially the older ones who'd been out there 30, 40 years. Most laughed me off, said I needed rest. But a few, just a few, went quiet. Real quiet. One old-timer in Georgia, name was Randall, he told me about seeing her back in '89. Said she walked across the road in the middle of a thunderstorm, and when he stopped, she disappeared. But ever since, things ain't been the same. His dog went missing. His wife left without a trace. He'd see claw marks on his mirror, and sometimes the engine would start by itself at night. He showed me a picture, one he took of his truck after one of the sightings. There she was, plain as day in the reflection of the chrome bumper. Her face up close, staring out with dead eyes, mouth open like she was screaming. That's when I knew this wasn't just me. She's been around a long time, and she's taken others, plenty of them. But why some people see her and others don't? That's what I still don't know. Maybe we're weak in some way, vulnerable. Or maybe we saw something we weren't supposed. 2. Now I stay off the road as much as I can, but sometimes I have no choice. Family emergencies, supplies, life finds a way to put you back in her path. Every time I merge onto a quiet highway, I feel my chest tighten. Every tree that lines the road looks like it's hiding her behind it. Every mile marker feels like a countdown to something I don't want to reach. And you know the worst part? Lately, I've started hearing her voice, not just in dreams, not just in the woods, but on the phone, in static, whispering my name while I'm wide awake. She's in my house now, in my mirrors, in my windows. I caught a glimpse of her reflection in the microwave door just last week. I turned around and she was gone, but the smell was there, wet earth and decay. So if you're still listening, if you're the kind of person who likes to take the scenic route or thinks they can handle the silence of the open road, just remember what I told you. Some shortcuts ain't worth the time they save, and some passengers don't need to open the door to climb aboard, because once she rides with you, she never gets off. You might think I'm crazy. Hell, sometimes I think I'm crazy too. But every time I try to forget, she reminds me. Like just the other day, I was fueling up at a little stop outside Amarillo, one of those lonely stations with just 2 pumps, dust blowing across the lot, no other trucks in sight. I walked in to pay, and the guy behind the counter just stared at me. Didn't say a word. I handed him cash, and he didn't even reach for it. Just pointed to the wall behind me with this pale, trembling hand. I turned around, and there it was. A mirror. One of those cheap, convex security ones mounted in the corner. And in it, I saw her. Standing right behind me. Close. Closer than she's ever been. Her mouth was wide open like she was screaming, but there was no sound. Her eyes looked like black holes. I spun around in a panic, but nothing was there. The cashier had collapsed, unconscious. EMTs said it was a seizure. But I knew better. I know what I saw. That night I didn't make it far. Pulled over just 20 miles down, parked on the shoulder under an overpass, tried to sleep with the engine running and the doors locked. At about 3:17 a.m., the radio turned on by itself. Full volume. But it wasn't music. It was white noise, and beneath it, her whisper, repeating one phrase over and over. You brought me with you. I shut the radio off, yanked out the fuse, even pulled the damn battery cable loose. Didn't matter. The noise kept going. Then, the windshield started fogging up from the inside, handprints forming in the condensation. Tiny at first, like a child's, then bigger, claw-shaped. Scraping sounds followed, like nails dragging down the inside of the glass. I jumped out of the cab and ran into the dark, not even knowing where I was going. Just ran until my lungs gave out. When I came back, the truck was silent, but the handprints were still there. I'm not the only one who's seen her, though. Over time, I met a few others. Not many, but enough. There's this one guy, Carl, drives refrigerated freight out of Kansas City. Real rough, no-nonsense type. We crossed paths at a diner in Nevada, and he saw the look on my face before I even said a word. Asked me if I'd seen the girl in the ditch. I nodded. His face went pale. He told me he hit her once, thought she was real, wasn't going. Too fast, maybe 40. But when he got out to check, there was no body, no blood. Just a single black shoe sitting on the yellow line. He keeps it in his truck now, tied to the rear view like a talisman. Says it keeps her at bay. I told him he was crazy. But now, I kinda wish I'd asked him if I could borrow it. She feeds off something. Fear, probably. Or maybe guilt. I've been thinking a lot lately about all the things I've seen on the road, accidents, fights, lost people. You can't drive as long as I have and not rack up ghosts of your own. Maybe that's why she picked me. Maybe she knows I'm already haunted. I've started keeping a journal, not for myself, for whoever finds me, in case she finally takes me for good. I write down the signs, the smells, the sounds. I log the places where she shows up the most. There's a pattern, but I can't crack it yet. Some nights she's in Utah, other times Alabama, but she always follows the highway. Always. Like she's bound to the asphalt itself. And the thing that terrifies me most is this. What if she was never human at all? What if she's something older? Something that's always been there, hiding, in the shadows of long stretches of road, feeding off drifters, runaways, and lonely truckers who spend more time looking in their mirrors than watching the road ahead? The more I think about it, the more I wonder. Maybe she's not chasing me. Maybe I've been delivering her. From one town to the next, one dark stop to another, like she's just hitching a ride in the back of my cab, waiting for the next place to crawl out, whisper in someone's ear, and start all over again. So if you're out there right now, driving at night, and you see a girl standing by the side of the road, don't stop, no matter how scared or cold or hurt she looks. Don't open the door. Don't make eye contact in the mirror. And whatever you do, don't. Listen when she whispers your name. Before I get into what happened next, I need you to understand something. It wasn't just about what I saw or heard anymore. It was what I started feeling, like she was inside my head, twisting thoughts around, making me doubt what was real. One night, somewhere outside Montana, I stopped at a way station that looked abandoned. The lights were off, but the red open sign buzzed faintly in the window. I figured maybe someone forgot to shut it off. I stepped inside to check and called dispatch, but there was nobody there. Just dust, cobwebs, and a smell, foul, like something had been rotting in the vents for weeks. I turned to leave, but the door slammed shut behind me. Locked. No amount of pulling or kicking opened it. Then I heard the static again. Loud. Louder. Than before. It came from the corner speaker up near the ceiling, one I hadn't noticed when I walked in. That same static. That same whisper underneath. You brought me with you. The lights flickered. The floor beneath me groaned like wood, even though it was concrete. And then I saw them, shadows crawling across the walls, long and spindly, moving like they were alive. I backed into the corner, trying to breathe, trying to remind myself that I was awake, that this was real. The shadows moved together, forming a shape. And that shape, it was her. Only this time she looked different. Taller, older, like she'd aged decades in a second. Her mouth opened again, and instead of silence, I heard a voice. Mine. She was speaking in my voice, saying things I've never said aloud. Secrets, regrets, things I tried to bury. You remember her, the voice said. You left her there, on the side of the road. You never went back. I dropped to my knees. I didn't even know who she meant, at least, not consciously. But deep down, something in me cracked open, a memory I'd buried. Years ago, I picked up a hitchhiker. Young woman, probably late teens. Looked scared, said she was running from someone. I gave her a ride, just meant to drop her at the next rest area. but we argued. She wanted to go further, get farther away. I got nervous. Her story didn't add up. I asked her to get out. I told myself it was the right thing, that someone else would help her, that she'd be fine. But what if she wasn't? What if she was the one? That thought ate at me as the shadows closed in. But right before they touched me, the door slammed open behind me with a gust of cold air so sharp it knocked me back. The shadows scattered. The lights died. I stumbled outside, gasping. My truck was gone. Just gone. I was alone on an empty road in the freezing dark. That's when I started walking. 30 miles, give or take, before I found another station, with a payphone. Called in a favor, got a buddy to pick me up. He didn't ask questions, just dropped me at a lot and left me with his spare rig. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. See, I thought maybe it was tied to that truck. Like, maybe she latched onto that cab, that sleeper berth, those greasy seats soaked in years of bad choices and worse memories. But no. The first night in the new truck, I heard her again, this time whispering through the air vents. I turned the heat off. She whispered louder. I turned it on. She laughed. Not a scream, not a sob, but a low, guttural laugh that sounded like it came from beneath the floorboards. I stopped sleeping. Just drove, day and night. Through states I barely remembered passing. Fuel stops blurred together. Roads looped in circles. I started seeing signs that didn't match the maps. Exits for towns that shouldn't exist. Billboards advertising places I'd never heard of. Camp Hollow, last stop for the lost. Or, welcome back, driver. We've missed you. They weren't just signs, they were messages. Warnings, maybe. Or invitations. The deeper I drove, the stranger things became. Lights in the sky that hovered silently. Deer that stared at the truck as I passed, eyes glowing too brightly. One night, I saw another rig jackknifed on the side of a remote 2-lane in Idaho. No skid marks, no damage. Just sitting there with the lights on, engine running, and the driver's door wide open. I pulled up behind it, walked up slow, calling out. Nobody answered. But inside the cab, I saw it again. That damn black shoe, sitting right in the center of the dashboard. Same as Carl's. Only this one had blood on it. Fresh blood, still wet. I turned to leave, and she was there, standing on the other side of the glass, staring at me through the windshield. She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared, and then she smiled. It was the kind of smile that says, I know you, I've always known you, and now you belong to me. From that night on, I stopped looking for answers, stopped trying to fight it. I realized something awful, something I haven't told anyone yet. She doesn't want to hurt me, not really. No. She wants me to keep going, to keep driving, to carry her forward, to help her reach more people. Every time I stop, something bad happens. Every time I rest, someone else suffers. But when I drive, when I keep moving, she stays quiet, content, for a while. So I drive. And if you're listening to this, if you're hearing my story on some late-night highway while you sip coffee, and keep your eyes on the center line. Remember, there are things out there that don't live in cities. They live in the in-between places, the places where headlights don't quite reach, the places only truckers know. If you see someone on the shoulder wearing a black dress and holding one shoe, don't stop. Don't even slow down. Just keep driving. Like me. Forever. That night, after I hit the gas and left that broken-down rig behind with her standing there, smiling through the windshield, something changed in me. I don't mean metaphorically, I mean physically almost. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My heart thudded like it was trying to crawl up my throat. I started hearing things even when the radio was off. Murmurs like CB chatter, only garbled and wet like someone talking underwater. I tried to shut it out, focused on the road, kept the wheels turning. But every now and then, out of the corner of my eye, I'd see her walking along the tree line, keeping pace with the truck even though I was doing 60. Sometimes she was crawling. Sometimes she floated. And sometimes she'd wave. I drove straight for 2 days, only stopping for gas and bathroom breaks, never shutting the engine off. I thought maybe if I just outran whatever this was, left it behind in the rearview mirror, I'd be free. But on the second night, just past the Nevada line, I stopped at a rest area because my vision was going blurry. I figured I'd close my eyes for 10 minutes, just 10, and I locked every door in that cab like I was sealing up a coffin. I must have passed out hard, because I was deep in some kind of sleep paralysis when I woke up. Couldn't move, couldn't breathe right. But I could see her, sitting in the passenger seat next to me. Her head turned all the way around, face too close, whispering right into my ear. I didn't hear words exactly. I felt them, like they were being carved into the folds of my brain, with a dull knife. I don't remember everything she said, but one line has never left me. You're my vessel now, my highway, my wheels to ride. She reached toward the dash, and as her fingers brushed the controls, every light in the cab turned red. Not blinking, just solid red, like I was bathed in brake light and blood. Then I woke up for real, gasping, covered in sweat. Truck still locked, no one there. But my CB was on. And on channel 13, a voice crackled through. Not hers this time. Man. Static-ridden and hoarse, like he hadn't spoken in years. She's using you, he said. Same way she used me. I couldn't speak. Just stared at the mic. You think you're special? He continued. You ain't. She jumps from truck to truck. Finds the lonely ones, the guilty ones, the ones trying to run from something. Who are you? I finally managed to say. I was a driver, he said. Until she made me a ghost with a beating heart, still behind the wheel, still driving. But I ain't really there anymore. The transmission cut out. I switched channels. Every single one was dead silent. Ever since. That moment, I've been getting warnings. Messages scrawled into rest stop bathroom mirrors, scratched into truck stop booths. Once I found a note folded under my wiper blade, scrawled in blocky, blood-red ink. Get off the road while you still can. But I can't. You understand? It's not that I won't. I can't. Because every time I stop for more than an hour, someone dies. First, it was other drivers I'd talked to on the CB. They'd disappear from the waves. Then I'd hear about their rigs found in ditches or burnt out in way station lots. Then it was dispatchers, mechanics. A girl I dated once, years ago, died in her sleep the same week I tried to leave the truck in a yard and fly home. She's tethered to me. Or maybe I'm tethered to her. I drive roads that don't exist on maps now. Hear music on the radio that's never been recorded. Last week, I passed a gas station where everyone inside was frozen in place, like statues, eyes. Wide mouths open. I didn't stop. I couldn't. And when I looked in my rear view, they all turned their heads to watch me leave, at the exact same time. I've forgotten what home smells like, what silence feels like. The hum of the tires, the low rumble of the engine. It's the only thing that keeps her calm. That and the stories. That's why I'm telling you this. Because maybe, just maybe, if I keep talking, if I keep sharing, if I keep driving, she'll stay quiet a little longer. And if you're still listening, if you're on the road right now and you hear someone whisper your name from the back of your cab, don't turn around. Just keep your hands on the wheel, eyes forward. And whatever you do, don't stop for the girl with only one shoe. I pushed the gas pedal a little harder, the hum of the engine doing its best to drown out the pounding in my chest. The road ahead stretched endlessly, dark and silent, broken only by the flickering streetlights that cast long, distorted shadows across the highway. I hadn't seen another vehicle in what felt like hours, and that eerie silence was doing things to my nerves. You ever feel like the night itself is watching you? That's how it felt. Like the darkness outside the cab window was alive, pressing in, waiting for something. I kept my eyes on the road, but in the rearview mirror, I swore I saw movement behind me. It wasn't the kind of thing you could explain. Just a flicker, a shape. Gone the second you looked right at it. I told myself I was tired. Lack of sleep, too much coffee, not enough food, the usual trucker excuses, But then I heard it again, that low thump. It was coming from the trailer. At first, I figured maybe I hadn't secured the load properly. It's happened before, even to seasoned drivers like me. But this wasn't cargo shifting. It was too deliberate. Thump, thump, like footsteps. I gritted my teeth and glanced at the rearview mirror again. Still nothing. I flicked on the interior, cab light, and checked the sleeper area. Empty. I thought about pulling over, but something in my gut said not to. Call it instinct. I reached for the CB radio just to see if anyone else was out there on this stretch, but all I got was static. Not even a whisper of another trucker's voice. That's when I noticed something strange. The clock on my dashboard was frozen. 2:37 a.m. It had been 2:37 for over 20 minutes. I tapped it, unplugged, and replugged it. Nothing. And my phone? Dead. I'd charged it fully before the run, but the screen wouldn't even turn on. That's when the cold crept in. Not the kind of cold you get from busted AC or rolled down windows. This was bone deep, like the temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. My breath fogged up the glass, and my hands started to shake. And then the radio, dead for so long, sputtered to life with a burst of static. It hissed, crackled, then a voice came through. Faint, like it was being dragged across miles of wire. "You shouldn't have taken this road," it said. My heart stopped. I didn't recognize the voice, but it was definitely human. Raspy, almost like it was choking on the words. I grabbed the mic and asked, "Who is this?" Nothing, just static again. I looked out the windshield, and that's when I saw her, standing in the middle of the road, just a few hundred feet ahead. A woman, long black hair draped over her face, dressed in white, soaked in something dark and glistening under the truck's headlights. I slammed the brakes. The truck screeched, tires screaming against the pavement. I skidded to a stop just inches from where she stood, unmoving, like she didn't even notice a 15-ton truck barreling toward her. I leaned on the horn, shouting, "Get out of the road!" But she didn't move. I stepped out of the cab, flashlight in hand, heart racing. My boots crunched on the gravel as I approached her. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" She lifted her head. Her eyes, empty, pitch black, like looking into a bottomless pit. Her mouth opened, and I swear to you, the sound that came out wasn't human. It was a shriek, high and piercing, like metal tearing through flesh. I staggered back, nearly dropping my flashlight, and then she vanished. Just gone. No puff of smoke, no blink of light. 1 second she was there, the next, empty road. I ran back to the truck, climbed into the cab, locked the doors. The temperature was still plummeting. Ice was forming on the inside of the windshield. The engine sputtered like it didn't want to keep going. I started driving again, fast. Didn't care about the speed limit anymore. I just wanted to get off that stretch of road. But the farther I drove, the less familiar things looked. I checked the GPS, but it was frozen too, still saying I was right where I started, miles back. And then the road started changing. Subtle at first. The lines disappeared. The asphalt cracked, then turned to gravel, then to dirt. Trees crept closer, overhanging the road like arms reaching out. I kept going, headlights the only thing cutting through the blackness. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I saw something up ahead, an old rusted truck, just like mine. Same model, same make, even the same dents in the fender. It was parked on the side of the road, engine cold, cab empty. I stopped beside it, heart in my throat. And carved into the door with jagged, deep cuts were the words, "You've been here before." I looked down at my own door. Same message, same writing. I sat there, stunned. And that's when the pounding started again. This time from inside the trailer. Only now it wasn't footsteps. It was fists. Hands slamming against the walls from the inside, like someone, or something, was trapped in there. I'll never forget the sound. The way it shook the whole rig, like whatever was back there wanted out. And I knew, deep down, that opening those doors would be the end of me. So I didn't. I hit the gas and drove into the unknown. I don't know how long I drove. Minutes, Hours, days. Time didn't work right on that stretch. But I do know this. If you're ever out on Highway 56 past midnight and your clock freezes at 2:37, don't stop for anyone. Don't check the trailer. And whatever you do, don't listen to the voice on the radio. Because once it starts talking, you're already part of the story. And stories like this, they don't always have an ending, but mine, well, mine's still going, and I'm still out here trying to find my way back. Back to the real world. Back to daylight. So if you see a rig driving with its lights off, its driver looking pale and haunted behind the wheel, don't honk, don't wave, and for the love of God, don't follow. I pushed the gas pedal a little harder, the hum of the engine doing its best to drown out the pounding in my chest. The road ahead stretched endlessly, dark and silent, broken only by the flickering streetlights that cast long, distorted shadows across the highway. I hadn't seen another vehicle in what felt like hours, and that eerie silence was doing things to my nerves. You ever feel like the night itself is watching you? That's how it felt. Like the darkness outside the cab window was alive, pressing in, waiting for something. I kept my eyes on the road, but in the rearview mirror, I swore I saw movement behind me. It wasn't the kind of thing you could explain. Just a flicker, a shape, gone the second you looked right at it. I told myself I was tired, lack of sleep, too much coffee, not enough food, the usual trucker excuses. But then I heard it again, that low thump. It was coming from the trailer. At first, I figured maybe I hadn't secured the load properly. It's happened before, even to seasoned drivers like me. But this wasn't cargo shifting. It was too deliberate. Thump, thump, like footsteps. I gritted my teeth and glanced at the rearview mirror again. Still nothing. I flicked on the interior, cab light, and checked the sleeper area. Empty. I thought about pulling over, but something in my gut said not to. Call it instinct. I reached for the CB radio just to see if anyone else was out there on this stretch, but all I got was static. Not even a whisper of another trucker's voice. That's when I noticed something strange. The clock on my dashboard was frozen. 2:37 a.m. It had been 2:37 for over 20 minutes. I tapped it, unplugged, and replugged it, nothing. And my phone? Dead. I'd charged it fully before the run, but the screen wouldn't even turn on. That's when the cold crept in. Not the kind of cold you get from busted AC or rolled down windows. This was bone deep. Like the temperature dropped 10 degrees in seconds. My breath fogged up the glass, and my hands started to shake. And then the radio, dead for so long, sputtered to life with a burst of static. It hissed, crackled, then a voice came through. Faint, like it was being dragged across miles of wire. "You shouldn't have taken this road," it said. My heart stopped. I didn't recognize the voice, but it was definitely human, raspy, almost like it was choking on the words. I grabbed the mic and asked, "Who is this?" Nothing, just static again. I looked out the windshield, and that's when I saw her. Standing in the middle of the road, just a few hundred feet ahead. A woman, long black hair draped over her face, dressed in white, soaked in something dark and glistening under the truck's headlights. I slammed the brakes. The truck screeched, tires screaming against the pavement. I skidded to a stop just inches from where she stood, unmoving, like she didn't even notice a 15-ton truck barreling toward her. I leaned on the horn, shouting, "Get out of the road!" But she didn't move. I stepped out of the cab, flashlight in hand, heart racing. My boots crunched on the gravel as I approached her. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" She lifted her head. Her eyes, empty, pitch black, like looking into a bottomless pit. Her mouth opened, and I swear to you, the sound that came out wasn't human. It was a shriek, high and piercing, like metal tearing through flesh. I staggered back, nearly dropping my flashlight. And then she vanished. Just gone. No puff of smoke, no blink of light. 1 second she was there, the next. Empty road. I ran back to the truck, climbed into the cab, locked the doors. The temperature was still plummeting. Ice was forming. On the inside of the windshield. The engine sputtered like it didn't want to keep going. I started driving again. Fast. Didn't care about the speed limit anymore. I just wanted to get off that stretch of road. But the farther I drove, the less familiar things looked. I checked the GPS, but it was frozen too, still saying I was right where I started, miles back. And then the road started changing. Subtle at first. The lines disappeared. The asphalt cracked, then turned to gravel, then to dirt. Trees crept closer, overhanging the road like arms reaching out. I kept going, headlights the only thing cutting through the blackness. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I saw something up ahead, an old, rusted truck, just like mine. Same model, same make, even the same dents in the fender. It was parked on the side of the road, engine cold, cab empty. I stopped beside it, heart in my throat. And carved into the door, with jagged, deep cuts, were the words, "You've been here before." I looked down at my own door. Same message, same writing. I sat there, stunned. And that's when the pounding started again. This time, from inside the trailer. Only now, it wasn't footsteps. It was fists. Hands slamming against the walls from the inside, like someone or something was trapped in there. I'll never forget the sound. The way it shook the whole rig, like whatever was back there wanted out. And I knew deep down that opening those doors would be the end of me. So I didn't. I hit the gas and drove into the unknown. I don't know how long I drove. Minutes, hours, days. Time didn't work right on that stretch. But I do know this. If you're ever out on Highway 56 past midnight and your clock freezes at 2:37, don't stop for anyone. Don't check the trailer. And whatever you do, don't listen to the voice on the radio. Because once it starts talking, you're already part of the story. And stories like this, they don't always have an ending. But mine, well, mine's still going. And I'm still out here, trying to find my way back. Back to the real world. Back to daylight. So if you see a rig driving with its lights off, its driver looking pale and haunted behind the wheel, don't honk, don't wave, and for the love of God, don't follow. I don't know how much time has passed since that night. Days blend together out here on the road. It feels like I've been living in some twisted, never-ending loop. I can't shake the feeling that the highway is watching me, waiting for me to slip up. I've driven on these roads for years, but something's different now. The faces I see in my rearview mirror aren't always mine. And sometimes I feel like I'm being followed even when I know there's no one behind me. I try to keep my focus on the road, but every so often I catch glimpses of things I shouldn't be able to see. Things moving in the corners of my vision. Figures darting between trees, shadows that shouldn't be there. I can't explain it, but I know deep down, whatever's following me isn't human. It's not just the ghosts of the highway, it's something older. Something that has existed long before any of us set foot on these roads. There are nights when the engine of my truck will suddenly sputter out, and the lights will flicker. And in the dead silence that follows, I hear it again. The voice on the radio. It's always the same message, always in that same raspy, choking tone. You shouldn't have come here. It's like a warning, but also like a curse. Like the highway is telling me that I've already crossed some line, that I've already sealed my fate. I've tried talking to other drivers, asking if they've experienced anything strange on the road. But they just laugh it off, shake their heads and say it's all in my mind. They don't know, they don't understand. But I do. I know exactly what's out there. One night, I pulled into a rest stop, hoping for some peace, just a few hours of sleep before hitting the road again. The lot was empty, save for a few other trucks. I parked at the far end, away from the lights, trying to keep a low profile. But as soon as I got out of the cab, I knew something wasn't right. The air was thick with that same oppressive cold I've felt before, the kind that sinks into your bones. And the wind, it wasn't normal. It was like it was carrying something with it. I walked towards the truck stop's diner, thinking I'd grab a coffee and maybe talk to someone. But as soon as I stepped inside, the lights flickered. The place was empty. No other truckers, no staff. Just the hum of the neon lights above and the smell of stale coffee in the air. I walked up to the counter, half expecting to see someone behind it, but there was only an old man sitting at the far end of the bar. He was hunched over, his face hidden in the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat. "Is anyone working?" I asked. But the man didn't answer. He just kept staring at his coffee cup. I moved closer, a bit uneasy. "Hey, are you all right?" He looked up slowly, his eyes wide and unblinking. For a moment, I thought he might be blind, but then I saw it. His eyes weren't right. They were black, as if they'd been filled with ink. "Not everyone makes it out here, son," he said, his voice hoarse. "Once you've driven these roads long enough, you belong to them." I took a step back, not sure whether he was rambling or trying to warn me. But before I could say anything, the lights in the diner flickered again, and the air grew colder. "You're not the first," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the lights. "And you won't be the last. The road always claims what's its own." Suddenly, the door swung open behind me. I turned, expecting to see another driver, but no one was there. The door just creaked shut by itself, the wind howling through the cracks in the building. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The old man stood up abruptly, his hands shaking as he gripped his coffee cup. "You've seen her, haven't you? The woman in white?" I froze. "How do you know about her?" He didn't answer. He just stared at me, his eyes widening in terror. Then, without a word, he turned and shuffled out the door, disappearing into the dark. Didn't follow him. Something in me told me that if I did, I'd be walking right into whatever hell he was running from. I left the diner, back to my truck, and locked the door behind me. But I knew. I knew that no matter how far I drove, no matter how fast I went, I'd never outrun this. The woman in white. The shadows on the road. The voice on the radio. It wasn't just a warning. It was a reminder. A reminder that once you step onto the highway, you're already part of its story. And there's no escaping it. Not for me. Not for anyone. I don't know how much longer I can keep going. But one thing's for sure, I'm not the only one out here. There are others. Others who've been claimed by the highway, trapped in some endless loop of fear and darkness. And sooner or later, I'll join them. Because out here, on these roads, there's no such thing as freedom. Only the highway. And whatever it wants, I've been driving for hours now, but it feels like I haven't moved at all. It's the strangest thing. But every mile I cover seems to take me deeper into something darker. There's no way to explain it, but I can feel the weight of the road beneath me, pulling me in. The farther I go, the more I can hear the whispers. The ones that drift through the air like smoke, only they're not from any living thing. I've always been a skeptic. Hell, I've seen things that I can't explain, but I've always brushed them off. Until now. Now, every shadow on the horizon feels like it's alive. The wind, the sound of the tires on the pavement, it's all a constant reminder that I'm not alone out here. That something is with me, always. There's a place I drive through sometimes, a stretch of highway that everyone warns you about. They call it the Devil's Curve. I've been on that road at least 100 times, but I never thought much of the stories. People say there's something off about it, that if you drive through there at the wrong time, you might just disappear. I always figured it was just another urban legend, one of those things people tell to freak each other out. But tonight? Tonight, as I rounded the bend, I saw something that made my blood run cold. At first, it was just a figure. A woman standing at the side of the road, her back to me, her head tilted down, as if she was waiting for something. The headlights from my truck illuminated her, and I could see that she was wearing a long white dress, tattered at the edges, and her hair was long and black, hanging around her face like a curtain. I didn't think much of it at first. A hitchhiker, maybe. But then I noticed something that stopped me dead in my tracks. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was floating, hovering just a few inches above the asphalt, and I swear to God, her head slowly turned toward me, even though she didn't move. It wasn't the kind of look a person gives you when they want a ride. No. This look was something much worse. It was a vacant stare, a look of emptiness, like she didn't see me at all. My truck's engine sputtered. I was sure I was imagining it. There was no way in hell I was seeing this. But then she smiled. That's when I realized I wasn't just seeing a ghost. This wasn't some trick of the light. This was something real, something old. And it wasn't. Happy to see me. I slammed my foot down on the gas pedal, but my truck didn't move. The engine roared in frustration, but nothing happened. I looked out the window and there she was, right next to my truck now, floating beside me. Her face, pale, lifeless, was pressed up against the glass. I could see her eyes, black as night, staring into mine, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. The radio crackled to life. You shouldn't have stopped. The voice was soft, almost mocking, and yet I felt my heart drop into my stomach. I didn't want to look, but I knew I had to. So I did. The woman's lips barely moved, but the voice came from her. Not everyone who passes through here leaves, she whispered. The wind picked up suddenly, pushing against my truck with unnatural force. My hands shook as I gripped the wheel. I tried again to start the engine, but nothing happened. It was like the truck was being held in place by some invisible force, and the more I tried to escape, the tighter the grip seemed to get. I turned to look at the road ahead, hoping to see another vehicle coming, someone, anyone, to help me. But there was nothing. Just the empty stretch of highway, the asphalt gleaming under the harsh lights of my truck. And then, just as suddenly as it all started, the truck started up again, the engine roaring to life, and I slammed my foot down on the gas, speeding away from that place as fast as I could. The woman in white was gone. But I knew. I knew she was still there, watching, waiting. I've been driving for years, but something in me tells me I'll never be the same after tonight. Maybe I'm just paranoid, or maybe the highway really is haunted, as they say. But either way, I can't escape it. It's part of me now, just like it's part of the truck. And the next time I pass through the Devil's Curve, I don't think I'll be able to outrun what's waiting there. Because there's something out there on those roads, something old. Something that's seen too many souls lost to ever let go of them. And no matter how far I drive, I'm not sure I'll ever be free. As I kept driving, I couldn't shake the feeling that the truck was being followed, that the road beneath me was no longer familiar. It felt like the entire stretch of highway had shifted into something unrecognizable, something that didn't belong in this world. Every mile I passed, the weight of the night pressed harder on my shoulders, and my headlights seemed dimmer, unable to cut through the oppressive darkness. There was a creeping chill in the air, despite the fact that it should have been a warm evening. The wind howled around the cab of the truck, rattling the windows, making the whole rig tremble as if it were alive. And then, from the corner of my eye, I saw it. A figure standing in the middle of the road, just ahead. I slammed my foot on the brakes, my heart racing in my chest. The figure didn't move. I couldn't see any detail, just a vague shape, like a shadow in the middle of the road, blocking my way. But there was something about it, something cold and wrong. It wasn't a person, at least not in the way I understood it. There was no movement, no indication that it was even alive. It just stood there. I pulled the truck to a screeching halt, the wheels locking up as I came to a stop a mere foot away from it. I held my breath, staring out the windshield. It was too dark to see clearly, but I could feel it. It was there, watching, waiting. I gripped the wheel harder, trying to calm my racing pulse. This couldn't be happening. I was just a trucker, driving down a highway like I had thousands of times before. Nothing had ever felt like this. Then, the figure shifted, and a chill ran down my spine. Its head turned slowly towards me, but there was nothing human about the movement. It was like watching a puppet's head jerk unnaturally to face me, the joints creaking with every turn. I thought I heard a whisper, faint but distinct, carried on the wind. My mind tried to block it out, but it was too late. I could hear it, clear as day now, repeating the same words over and over again like a chant. Join us. Join us. Join us. The words echoed in my head, like they were coming from inside the truck, from everywhere at once. I wanted to scream, to break free, but my body wouldn't respond. My fingers were frozen to the steering wheel, and I couldn't pull my gaze away from the figure in front of me. That's when I saw the eyes. Two hollow black pits staring at me, deep as the night, and filled with a terror I couldn't begin to comprehend. The air seemed to grow heavier around me, the darkness thickening as if it were closing in, pressing down on me. I felt like I was suffocating, like the road itself was swallowing me whole. The figure took a slow step toward the truck, and the wheels of the truck groaned as if resisting, but still, they turned. I could feel the rig inching forward, my foot still on the brake but not stopping it. It was as if the truck had a mind of its own, one that was guiding me toward that figure, like I was being pulled into its grasp. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to steady myself. This was just a nightmare. It had to be. This wasn't real. But when I opened my eyes again, the figure was right in front of the truck, staring at me. Its mouth stretched open, impossibly wide, and I could hear the words again, louder now, "Join us! Join us!" I slammed my foot back on the accelerator, panic surging through me. The truck surged forward, the engine roaring as I pushed the pedal to the metal. The figure didn't move, didn't even flinch as I sped toward it. Just before impact, it vanished. Not like it moved out of the way, but like it simply dissolved into the air, leaving only the cold wind and the sound of my tires screeching on the asphalt. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I kept my eyes on the road ahead, praying that I was finally free of whatever had been chasing me. But the feeling didn't go away. The truck still felt like it was being guided by something not of this world. It wasn't over. I could feel it. I was being led somewhere, deeper into whatever nightmare this road had become. Hours seemed to pass as I continued driving, the headlights flickering in and out. The road stretched endlessly in front of me, but the landscape around me had begun to shift. The trees on either side had taken on an unnatural appearance, twisted, gnarled, like something out of a nightmare. Their branches were reaching toward me as if trying to pull me off the road. I tried to ignore it, to push through, but the whispers returned, soft at first, but growing louder and louder until they were impossible to ignore. Join us. Join us. It wasn't just a voice anymore. It was a chorus of voices, all saying the same thing, over and over. The wind had changed direction, and now it was howling at me, almost as if it were urging me forward. Then I saw something in the distance. A light. But it wasn't a normal light. It wasn't like a street light or a car's headlights. It was a soft, glowing aura in the distance, flickering like a candle in the wind. Against every instinct in my body, I found myself steering the truck toward it. The whispers grew louder as I got closer, as if they were pulling me toward that light, and the fear I had been holding in my chest began to melt away. As I approached, I saw it more clearly, an old decaying sign on the side of the road. It read, "The Last Resting Place." I knew then that I wasn't on some random stretch of highway anymore. I was somewhere else, somewhere between the world of the living and the dead. The light flickered again and I heard a soft voice. "Welcome home." And then everything went black. When I woke up, I was back on the road. The truck was running smoothly, the headlights bright and clear, and the whispers had stopped. But as I looked around, I realized something had changed. The road ahead was no longer the same. The trees were gone, replaced by thick, swirling fog that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. And then I saw them. Dozens, hundreds, maybe more. Figures in the distance, standing on the roadside, their hollow eyes staring at me. Silent. Watching. They were waiting. And I knew, deep down, that this wasn't just some strange occurrence. No, whatever it was, it had claimed me. It had taken me, and it was never going to let me go. Not now. Not ever. I am just another soul on this highway now. A lost soul, forever driving through the night. And I know that the road has many more dark corners for me to turn, many more miles to travel, but one thing is certain, I will never be free. Not until I'm just another shadow on the side of the road, waiting for the next lost driver to take my place. I tried to keep driving, thinking that maybe if I just kept moving, if I just kept my hands on the wheel and my foot on the gas, I could outrun whatever had taken hold of me. But the truth is, the road had already claimed me. I was just a passenger, now no longer in control. The fog thickened around me as I drove, swallowing up the lights of my truck until it felt like I was driving in complete darkness. My headlights barely cut through it, and the darkness seemed to crawl along the edges of my vision, pulling at the corners of my mind. I could hear the whispers again, faint at first, like a breeze in the trees, but then growing louder, more insistent, as if something or someone was urging me forward. Join us. Join us. The words echoed in my skull, rattling around, in my head. My heart hammered in my chest as I pressed down harder on the accelerator, desperate to break free of the oppressive feeling that surrounded me. But the road stretched on, never ending, an endless loop that seemed to bend back on itself. I glanced into the side mirror, half expecting to see something, someone following me, but there was nothing. The highway was empty, save for the truck, and the fog, which seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. I tried to tell myself it was just the exhaustion setting in, just my mind playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew better. The temperature inside the cab had dropped again, and my breath fogged in front of me. I rubbed my arms, trying to warm up, but it was no use. The cold had seeped into my bones, an unnatural chill that wasn't just from the weather. The road stretched on, twisting and turning, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting just around the next bend. I had to stop. I couldn't keep driving forever. But then I saw something ahead, a faint glow through the fog. I didn't know why, but I knew it was the same light I had seen before, the one that had drawn me toward that decaying sign. Without thinking, I guided the truck toward it. The whispers grew louder again, their chorus almost deafening now, and the light ahead flickered, like a beacon pulling me closer. And then, just as before, I was drawn toward it. The truck's wheels spun, sliding through the fog as if they were being pulled along by some unseen force. I tried to fight it. Tried to steer the truck away, but it was useless. The road was no longer mine to control. The light grew brighter, blinding me for a moment. I squinted, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, but before I could react, the truck lurched forward, throwing me against the seat. I held onto the wheel, bracing myself, but it was like I had no say in the matter anymore. The truck was moving on its own, and I was just along for the ride. Then I saw it, the sign, the decaying one from before, now standing tall and unblemished. The last resting place. I slammed on the brakes, heart racing, but the truck didn't stop. It was as though I had passed some point of no return, some invisible line that couldn't be crossed back over. The truck kept rolling, and ahead of me, I saw the figures again, more of them this time. Hundreds of shadowed forms standing along the side of the road, hollow eyes staring at me, unblinking. They were waiting for me. I wanted to scream, to break free, but the fear in my chest was suffocating. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding in my ears. I looked to the side, and then I saw her, the girl. She was standing on the roadside, just off the shoulder of the road, staring at me. She was pale, almost translucent. In the dim light, with long black hair that hung in tangled waves around her face. Her eyes were wide and dark, and she didn't move, didn't even blink. I slammed my foot on the brake again, hoping to stop the truck, but it just kept going, moving steadily toward her. The figures in the distance turned their heads, their hollow eyes locking on me. They were all watching, waiting. And I knew with absolute certainty that if I didn't stop, if I didn't make this truck stop, that girl would be the one to take me. I tried to scream, to shout, but no sound came out. The world seemed to narrow down to just that. Girl, her dark eyes boring into me, and the fog that was thickening, swallowing everything in its path. And then, just as I thought I couldn't take any more, the truck came to a sudden stop. I was still, silent, motionless. For a long time, I sat there staring out through the windshield, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The girl was gone. The figures were gone. The fog seemed to lift, just slightly, and I could see the road stretching out ahead of me, like it had before. The air was still, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I turned the key, slowly, the engine roaring to life beneath me. My hands still gripped the wheel, but I was no longer in control. The truck seemed to move on its own, as if something else had taken the wheel. I was being driven forward again, through the night, with no end in sight. And in that moment, I realized that no matter how hard I tried to fight it, I was part of the road now. Just another lost soul, forever traveling through the fog, forever part of the highway, waiting for the next unsuspecting driver to take my place. And somewhere, deep in the distance, I could still hear the whisper, "Join us." I tried to turn the wheel, tried to brake, but the truck wouldn't respond to me. It felt like the road itself was alive, like it was pulling me forward, dragging me deeper into whatever nightmare had taken hold of this place. The hum of the engine was muffled under the low, persistent whisper that seemed to echo from everywhere and nowhere all at once. "Join us." I couldn't get it out of my head. The whispering was there, just behind my thoughts, like 1,000 voices speaking all at once. I could feel the pressure building in my chest, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly my knuckles were white, but I couldn't make myself stop. I wasn't in control. The fog, thick and unnatural, continued to roll around the truck, crawling over the hood and the windshield. I could barely see past the edges of the fog now, but I felt something. Watching. I wasn't alone on the road, not anymore. I tried to focus, tried to push the fear away, but the dread was overwhelming. I could see the headlights of other trucks in the distance, but they didn't seem to be moving toward me. They were moving away, retreating from something I couldn't understand. The road was empty again, but I couldn't stop myself from looking. At the shadows that flickered in the peripheral of my vision, the whispers grew louder. I tried to tell myself it was just the wind, just the truck creaking, but it was no use. The voices were real. "Join us." Suddenly, the truck jerked forward, throwing me back into my seat. I gasped as the air in the cab grew thick, harder to breathe. I slammed my foot onto the brakes, but the truck didn't stop. It just kept accelerating, faster and faster, and I couldn't do anything to slow it down. I was trapped. My eyes darted to the road ahead, and that's when I saw it. A figure, standing in the middle of the highway. A man, tall and gaunt, dressed in tattered clothes. His face was hidden in shadow, but I could see the outline of his outstretched hand, palm up as if beckoning me forward. He didn't move, didn't flinch as I barreled down on him. The truck was unstoppable now. I screamed, but it was swallowed by the noise of the engine. The figure didn't flinch. He didn't move. And then, just before I hit him, the truck swerved, the wheel jerking violently in my hands. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't control it. And then, just like that, the figure was gone. The truck skidded to a halt, tires screeching against the asphalt. My chest heaved with panic, and I glanced around wildly, looking for any sign of the man, but there was nothing. Just the road, the fog, and the eerie silence that followed. I didn't know what was happening anymore. I was so far from home, so far from anything that made sense. The air was so thick with tension I could barely breathe. I was trapped in this nightmare, unable to wake up. And the worst part? I couldn't leave. The truck wouldn't move anymore. It had come to a full stop. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but there was nothing I could do. I tried the ignition again, but it was no use. The truck was dead. I grabbed my phone, my fingers trembling as I tried to call for help, but the signal was gone. There was nothing but static, a harsh buzz in my ear, and the feeling of isolation pressing in on me. And then, I heard it again. Join us. The voice was clear now, coming from inside the truck, inside my mind. I felt it, a coldness seeping through the seams of the truck, crawling under my skin. Something was in here with me. I turned to the passenger seat, expecting to see someone sitting there. But there was nothing. No one. Just the empty seat, staring back at me. But I could feel it. I could feel it right next to me. Suddenly, the truck jolted again. This time, the sound of the engine sputtered to life, but it wasn't the same. The engine sounded different, hollow, distant. And I could feel the truck pulling forward on its own. I slammed my foot down on the brake again, but it was useless. The truck continued moving, pulling me forward into the night, into the darkness. Join us. I wasn't driving anymore. The road was driving me. The fog thickened once again, wrapping around the truck like a living entity, and the whispers grew louder. The shadows around me began to stretch, twisting and warping, and I could hear footsteps behind me. Soft, slow footsteps that seemed to echo in my mind, matching the pounding of my heart. I turned around, desperate to see who or what was following me, but there was nothing. Just the black void of the fog closing in on me, consuming everything. The truck was moving faster now, faster than it should be able to. The road was no longer a road, it was a winding, twisting path that led nowhere. I could see things, shapes, faces floating in the fog. They were watching me, waiting for me to join them, waiting for me to give in, and that's when it hit. Me. This wasn't just the road. This was the end. This was the last stretch. The whispers weren't just trying to get me to join them. They were trying to take me. They were trying to claim me as one of their own. I tried to scream, tried to fight, but it was too late. The road was no longer just a place. It was a trap, and I had walked right into it. The figures, the whispers, the fog, it was all one thing, one entity. It had always been here waiting, and now I was part of it. I couldn't escape. I was lost forever, stuck on the road that never ends.